All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-thru. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Thursday afternoon. This drive-thru is brought to you by the deli. Hungry? Stop by the deli and get yourself something special, like some General Tso's. All right, so this is 9-7, special right triangles. Okay, and these triangles are going to be a part of the next 3 or 4 years of your math lives. So this is a pretty important section, not because it says special, but because these triangles are used as test points in many of the sine, cosine, and tangent operations that you'll do in the coming years. So this is kind of getting us to some really, really good math. What makes them so special? Well, the first special right triangle is called a 45-45-90 triangle. Okay. And you will often see this with that. Okay, so it's trying to tell you some rules. Okay, so if you have the leg of and you want to get to the hypotenuse, you simply multiply by radical 2. Okay? If you have the hypotenuse and you want to get to the leg, you simply divide by radical 2. Okay? And let me explain to you why that is. Let's say we had some 45-45-90 triangle, and our sides, well, we already used x, so I'll use s. Our sides were s, and we wanted to find out h in terms of s. So solve for h in terms of s. How would I do that? Well, we would start with Pythag. S squared plus s squared equals h squared, which s squared plus s squared is 2s squared equals h squared. Okay. Divide each side by 2. You get s squared is h squared over 2. And so the side is the hypotenuse. If we take the square root of both sides, the side is the hypotenuse divided by radical 2. Okay, that's what this says right here. If we have our hypotenuse and we want to find our leg, you divide it by radical 2. The side is the hypotenuse divided by radical 2. Well, that means the hypotenuse, if we just took this up here, s equals h over radical 2. If we wanted to solve for h in terms of s, you would multiply both sides by radical 2, and that would give you h is s times radical 2. So this is what this means. And that's your first rule of today's lesson. Okay? To find the side, you divide the hypotenuse by radical 2. And to find the hypotenuse, you multiply the side by radical 2. Which side am I talking about? It doesn't matter, because these two are the same, because these two angles are the same. So why is that a special right triangle? Well, because it is often found in geometry, because squares are so prevalent, and that is why it's special, because it's half of a square. Okay? So far, so good? All right, so the second special right triangle is called a 30-60-90 triangle. And that's it. There's only 2 types of special right triangles. Oftentimes, you will see the 30-60-90. Okay, let's see. This one looks smaller. That one looks bigger. Notice that you would see it like this. If this is x, this is x times radical 3, and this is x times 2, or, well, we won't write it like that. This is 2x. Okay, so what the heck does that mean? Well, it's giving you directions, but there's an asterisk on this one. Always find the short leg first. Okay, so that's going to be a trick that we need to remember. Always find the short leg first. Once we have the short leg, if we want to get to the long leg, are we getting bigger or smaller? Well, we're getting bigger, so we're going to multiply by what? Let's look at our little picture. We're going to multiply by radical 3. Okay? So that means if we have the long leg and we want to find the short leg, well, it's getting smaller, so we will divide by radical 3. Okay? If we have the short leg, so this is all still the same thing. If we have the short leg and we want to find the hypotenuse, well, short leg to hypotenuse, that's getting bigger. So we will multiply by 2. Okay? And what if we have the hypotenuse and we want to find the short leg? Well, we want to divide by 2. Okay? And then you might ask yourself, well, what if we want to go from the long leg to the hypotenuse? You can't. I mean, we don't want you to. What did I just say in my asterisk? Find the short leg first. So you'd have to do long leg to short leg, and then do short leg to hypotenuse, because we always find the short leg first. Okay? So those are our rules. Now let me explain why it's spatial. All right, so we mentioned that the 45, 45, 90 was half of a square. This is half of an equilateral triangle. If I take an equilateral triangle and cut it in half. Okay, well, let's see. That would make this S and S. Oh, 2S and 2S. Got it. Well, how do I find A? Well, let's set up the Pythagorean theorem. So, S squared plus A squared is 2S squared. Everybody understand what we're doing here? Now, we want to find out what A is. So, S squared plus A squared is 4S squared. Did you know that's how you did that? Subtract an S squared from both sides. That's a 1S squared. And you get A squared is 3S squared. Square root both of these sides. And you get the square root of A squared is just A. And the square root of 3S, we could take our S out. And then you get an S radical 3. So, now we know that our picture looks like this. Do you understand where that comes from? I hope so. Okay, so one more thing. How do I know which one the short leg is? What if the teacher is a jerk and they give you some sort of picture like this? And it says, solve all the missing parts of that triangle. Well, you can't, as you already know, you can't judge a picture as if it is drawn to scale, but you can use your mathematic facts. So, since this is 30, that's the short leg. Since that's the hypotenuse, that makes that, since that's the right angle, that makes that the hypotenuse. Okay, well, that makes that the long leg. Well, what do I want to do to find this? Well, to find the short leg, well, I got to find the short leg first, because that's what the rule says. So, to get from the long leg to the short leg, it's getting smaller, so I divide. What do I divide by? radical 3. So short leg is 10 divided by radical 3, which is 10 radical 3 over 3, and I'll just leave it like that. Okay, and how do I get from the short leg to the hypotenuse? Well, I multiply by 2. So 10 radical 3 over 3 times 2 over 1. Well, what's 10x times 2? Forget about the bottom. What's 10x times 2? It's 20x. So what's 10 radical 3 times 2? It's 20 radical 3. Oh my gosh, I just put my hand over that like you guys couldn't see it on the video. I was trying to put my hand over the 3. Oh, hysterical. All right, 20 radical 3 over 3. That is our hypotenuse. And our short leg is 10 radical 3 over 3. Okay? So, let's do an example number 2. Solve completely. So we got a square, and we got this is 200. Okay? Well, x is going to be 200 divided by radical 2, which is 200 radical 2 over 2, which is 100 radical 2. Got it. All this is a square, so all of these are 100 radical 2. And that is your introduction to special right triangles. Boom!